Welcome to Dine with Dad. Today we're going to do a chicken cordon bleu sandwich that's really easy and very tasty. First of all, you need to get some chicken breast, and what I like is the thin chicken breast cut at the store, or that sometimes it's called a cutlet. So that's what we've got here, is one that's been in the brine. I'm going to pour that off and put it on my plate. And then we're going to pat that dry. And looky there, it actually had two little pieces. I didn't even notice that. So we'll make both of them. So this is ready to go. We're going to do a little salt and a little pepper on both sides. Just a little. Flip that over. I'll use a fork so I don't touch it. Keep that cross-contamination to a minimum. A little more salt on the second side. A little more pepper. And we'll set this aside. All right, now we'll make our dredge and our batter. If you watched the chicken fried pork chop episode a couple of weeks ago, this is exactly the same method. Just get a little bit of flour in a pie dish, like so. Season that well with a good pinch of salt, or two. Nice amount of pepper, and mix it with your fork. Now we'll make the batter. It's an egg batter, so I'll use 2 eggs. And a trick on eggs is a lot of people will crack them on the side of the dish. My mom used to do that all the time, and that's how I grew up learning. But then I learned better. If you crack it on the side of a dish, it'll drive the shell up in the egg. But if you crack it on a dish, on a flat surface like this, then it'll keep the shell from driving as much up into the egg, and it's much, much easier. So one quick crack, and in we go. I am not a one-handed cracker and spreader. I'm a two-handed, even though I've been doing it for years. So now a little bit of milk. And again, a good pinch of salt. And a good grind of pepper. And we'll mix that up. There we go. Now, off to the stove. All right, now we're at the stove, and we're going to start by turning the stove on to fairly low heat, maybe 2, and add some shortening. You can also use lard. You can even use oil if you prefer. I like shortening. You use what you want. So this is going to take just a little bit to melt. All right, once the oil melts, we're getting close. Now you don't want to put the chicken in too early, because if the oil's not up to temperature, it'll make it kind of a gummy crust instead of a nice crispy crust. So you want to wait till it starts to shimmer, until you can hold your hand there, until it gets pretty hot. You can hold your hand there for a couple minutes. Now my wife could hold it there forever, but that's pretty hot for me. So that feels pretty good. We'll get the chicken cutlet. I'll start with the smaller one and coat it on both sides with flour. Make sure it's well coated. Shake off the excess and then into the egg wash. Again, both sides, and then back to the flour. Cover with flour, like so. I'm going to use my fork to kind of press that flour on so that the batter sticks a little bit better. Make sure the other side's good. See, we've got a little spot there that didn't have any, so put that on there. And then in the pan, and I always start at the top so that I know which one I put in first. So now to the second one, flour, shake off the excess, a little bit there, and I'm missing a spot there again. Shake off the excess into the egg wash, other side. This big one is uncooperative. Let it drain. Back to the flour. Nice and floured on both sides. Then use a fork to press that flour on so that the batter sticks a little bit better. Turn it over, do the same thing. And then into the grease. Now I will remember that I put this one in first and then this one, so that I'll pull this one first. I'll turn it first and I'll pull it first. That way they both cook evenly. Now it's time to wait for about a minute, minute and a half. Let them brown up. All right, it's been about a minute, and so let's check. Oh yeah, look how beautiful that is. That is exactly the color I'm looking for, that golden color with not much brown. Oh, that one needs a minute longer. So we'll let that one keep cooking. And you have to pay attention because your pans sometimes will have hot spots. Your burners might have a little bit of hot spot. In this case, I probably didn't have my pan exactly in the center of the flame. We'll let that one cook a little bit longer. Won't be much. There, see, it didn't take much at all. Another minute, minute and a half. Especially with these thin chicken breasts, it won't take long at all. All right, let's check. This little one should be about done, and it is. It is. We'll evacuate to a draining rig there, which again is a sheet pan lined with foil, and then a rack on top of that. And this big one was taking a little longer to cook. Whoa. Don't splash yourself. That's why you should hold it up away from you, but it's doing pretty well there. All right, we're going to move over to the counter and finish up putting together these sandwiches. All right, now we've got these lovely chicken breasts here, and we're ready to start assembling the sandwich. So we're going to start with some ham. I like the shaved ham because I think it works really well. Usually put about 2 slices on per chicken breast. This small one might only take 1, so I think that's what we'll do, is just 1 on that. And then a piece of Swiss or provolone cheese. Again, we've got 2 different sizes here, so I'm going to tear that in half, and that'll go wonderfully on that, and that'll finish that one off. And now we're going to pop this in an oven set to either warm or the lowest temperature that you've got. All we want to do is melt the cheese and warm the ham through. And while that's happening, we'll get the buns ready. All right, now we're going to get the buns ready. Since I got 2 pieces of chicken, we'll make 2 sandwiches. I'm using potato buns, which I really like, but you can use brioche, you can use regular hamburger buns, whatever you like. And we're going to use some honey mustard on this and put a little bit on both sides of the bun. So many hamburger places these days are just putting their condiments on one side of the bun, and I just think that tastes awful. I think you need the condiment on both sides to really get the flavor the way God intended. All right, buns are dressed. While we're waiting on the cheese in the oven to melt, I want to let you know on those chicken, it's been about 5 minutes, so let's check and see if the cheese is melted. It looks like it's melted. We're going to bring that out and make some sandwiches. All right, that's a big one. Could have probably cut that in half and made 2 sandwiches. It's really going to overhang. Close that up. We got 1 more there. It'll fit a little bit better. Close that one up. Wow, look at that sandwich. I mean, that thing is huge. And that's the one I'll eat. Oh my goodness. A salty bite of the ham with the crispy chicken, melty cheese. Wow, that might be my favorite sandwich ever. If I keep saying everything's my favorite thing ever, you all won't believe me, but that's really good. The sweetness of the honey mustard really rounds it out. That's a terrific sandwich. Give it a shot, and we'll see you next time with Dining with Dad.